Hello folks, time for another update. No, the LDO does not come in orange. If you're curious, I like to design things in CAD and then print them out, see if they're really as flimsy as they seem, and the answer is yes. So why am I going to all this length? Well, we'll get to that in just a moment. What's going on with the printer now? Well, I cleaned up the hot end. It was leaking through the heat break. So that means I need to change priority. Originally it was finish the X gantry and then print out the standard LH toolhead components and put the Dragon Ace on that. And I was going to just use plain wire to the main board. I convinced myself to use the Nighthawk. I like it. I like the solution a little better because it's just the cabling. It's all about the cabling. One cable to rule them all essentially. That will fit right in there. Maybe I shouldn't do this on camera with one hand. Like so. Strain relief there. I'm probably going to redesign that a bit more so I can use a zip tie. But that does pinch nicely, not too tight. And cabling, well, it has a pass-through USB, which is something that my EB42s don't have. I'm still going to use the Eddy. I'm thinking about switching over to Cartographer. It really depends on if Vlad, I know he's doing a lot of good work with making sure his code works with Calico. I want to switch to that, but I know if I move to the Beacon, they already support it. So that's still on my mind. That's still down the road. I have plenty of time to kick that can however many times I want. So reducing the number of cables. I would reduce the USB cable from the Eddy or from the Beacon to the hub by just passing through, and then I have to just deal with one cable now. Makes things much more elegant. And this is pretty darn sturdy. I'm happy with that. So you got your two fans, your thermistor. One of these is a tack fan. Probe. You have an LED hot end. And I forget what these two are about. Oh, one is end stop. And I'll have to look that one up. Stepper. It's pretty neat. Should work right out of the box. We'll get to that when we get to that. So you're asking, why is it so tall? That's because I still need to support the Neptune Pro carriage. And the Neptune Pro 4 carriage is bolted on with 4 points. The carriage has 2 cylindrical protrusions that will slide into there. And then it has this odd extrusion. I don't know what its design was there, but you have to account for that or else it won't sit flat. So then it's flat against the plate, bolted on. Of course, you've seen how I have those inserts there. And it's darn solid. I could probably just run it with a top 2, but 4 is better than 2. The other reason for mocking things up is wire routing. Obviously, it's something that's harder to do on CAD. I know it's possible, but you want to be able to run or visualize how much wire, or if you need, where you need to crimp or what have you beforehand. This one will go down here. This one I'll sneak back up to here and so forth. And one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this around because this is having a hard time stretching over here. That's a little too tight. Maybe not for the next phase where this middle part comes down or gets out. but I'd rather have a little more breathing space. And of course I have almost a meter of that wire there. Beautiful wire I'm gonna have to cut off. But let's show you what this looks like when it's going to be in its final form. And while I'm at this, if you're wondering why another side mount, it's because I only have 13 mil clearance between the back of the orbiter and the pylon. So from here out, and obviously this is not going to cut it, even from here to the back of the pins, that's 13 already. So I have no clearance. Maybe when I change over to the X gantry, I'll have it. I'll need to take a look at the CAD and see if that's a possibility. But the side mount has worked well for me. I use it with the Elegoo already, with its breakout board. This is yet another mocked up piece. So here the Elegoo board, actually that's printed all in one piece, sits there. You've seen that in my previous videos. That's served me very well over the past. So I was thinking of modifying it. So what do we got here? Well, this is just a spacer. This is where my cutter would be. It's exact height. We'll put that aside. This is the piece that will actually go away completely. So then we can now take a look at yeah, I like Legos too. That's why I like mocking things up and visual. It's easier for me to visualize and test. So I won't screw these all the way down, just let's tack them on a bit. Is that flat? Is no. See, clearances. Yet another reason to do a mock-up, because it's hard to visualize the clearances. There we go. There we go. Now that's flat. This comes down as such and looks a little better. Now these tabs can be broken off. I was debating whether or not I'm going to actually use them. If I have clearance, why not? That's why I've not done that yet. In the end, if I don't, I'll probably will break them off. We shall see. Maybe I can have a little holder that comes in underneath. Just thinking aloud now that it's in front of me, and I think that's a no. There's no way to really cut that edge. I did that with the Elegoo breaker board because I did have that edge. So now it's not as, well, it's 17 millimeters lower. This will be routed with my filament cables, and I'll have that so there's plenty of play in there. The movement will just be in this direction. Now, some things you need to be aware of with this cord. LDO is very good about telling you 28 millimeter radius. That should be as far as you bend. I've been thinking about how I could do a spline, a movable spline with that. That would be something new for me. I've never designed anything like that in CAD, so that would be interesting. And I think that's all I need to talk about for this. I am happy I'm going to be getting a tack. I am concerned about safety, and if this, if this motor stops, show's over if you've got heat. So that is about it for today. If I change anything, it's going to be around this area. This seems too thin to bring out. I have some space to play with here. Maybe I'll build it out even more here, make this all one piece. My original design, I had this laying flat. Let me show you. There's another thing I can visualize here without bringing up a screen and a slicer and then you squinting at it going, darn it, it's at the wrong angle. So we'll put this aside for a moment. So normally I designed this piece to be printed as such, and the breakout board comes up straight. I had the correct angles, so we didn't do any weird bridging. That worked great. Same idea here. So actually, let's be very, very gentle. We don't need that in the way now. All right. So the idea was maybe I print it as such. There are some benefits. Obviously, your layer lines are going this way, so you have better strength here instead of, well, I print this flat, so I guess that invalidates that idea. So I still have that layer lines going this way. I don't want to print it up. Obviously, that'll snap right there. But if I printed it as such, I would need to put support here. I'm not keen on that idea. I still may do it. The reason being, it allows me now to make all of this one piece, printed as one piece. And it'll be more solid, right? Maybe I can do some interesting work here where I print out maybe an angled support coming out to here. And I mean, if you could visualize it perhaps this way, because if I did it flat, that wouldn't work. But just thinking aloud, since I'm kind of doing the spur of the moment with all of you watching me and my thought process, if I did it as such, this is at an angle now, that might work. That might print really nice. The weak spot, of course, would be these really thin pieces going back and forth up to here. But the idea is to prevent this from happening. And with those pieces like that, it shouldn't snap. Of course, if you come down straight down, it would snap. So those are some ideas. I'm not fond of this. I understand why I need it. And if you look at other designs where they have them on the back, they have it as well. I was thinking about somehow maybe printing it. This is the right one. While we're here, and make this a longer video. Ha ha ha. Okay. Another idea. Come out front. Well, I'm not keen on that either. You would have to bend upwards when this piece comes out generally at an angle. It's very mobile for where the filament enters. Then when your cord comes out, and it would come up, it would snake along that line. I'm not too keen on that, but it would allow me to print as such, right? So there's that idea. I would have to sleep on that. I'm not sold on it. But you kind of, hopefully, if you're following along and you're still watching, you're getting the idea going, oh yeah, there's more than one way to slice this cake and make it work. I do like the fit though. I kind of nailed that. Let's just get this screw out of here completely. There we go. All right, we're back to this. In fact, let's switch over to this. All right. So if we print it as such, we can get some nice strength there. Print more on the vertical here. Build this out. We can even print this way and build it out. I'm just not keen on the cord sticking out so far. Now, we can't do this. Remember, I only have that 13 millimeter clearance. That won't do it all. I already said no, right? I was also thinking maybe on top. because that would clear, right? That's another possibility. Again, I'm not, well, I have this here too. So what does that look like? See what I mean? We can move this around. We can see what's going on. Why isn't this not flat? There's an idea, right? And then this would bend upwards. Maybe I can try my hand at curving this a bit. We'll see about the clearances. That might be better. And then, this is a longer video than I wanted, but now I'm kind of speaking my thoughts. Have it there. I still have clearance. I know the stepper might get warm, but I can build it up here and build it up here and give it the support it needs. I may just mock that up in a print. And what I'd be looking for is to make sure that that this lever action doesn't interfere when I have to mess with any sort of filament, which I do occasionally, that I still have that access and it doesn't interfere with any of the electronics here. Ooh. You see what I see? That would be an interesting mount point. I could bring it down. Because really the one I'm at this, I found out I can't use a cap screw because the lever will only come down just a bit. But that looks fascinating. I don't know if I will do that, but I'm interested in that hole lining up as such. So yeah, many ways to slice this cake. I may even think up of a few more. I'm taking my time with this project. That's why you haven't seen too many updates happen. Now you know what's going on inside my mind. I like looking at things from different angles. And I like to touch and feel things like this. Just to see how it works, right? Sometimes what you design in CAD doesn't work out in real life. That's not a hard and fast rule, but I've run into it too many times in my life that, sometimes you just got to sit down and do it, whether it's a mock-up in wood, balsa, cardboard, what have you. So I will leave it there. If you're in the US, have a happy and safe 4th of July. And I'll talk to you later, folks. Have a good one.